Good evening and welcome back to Living Room Shakespeare. Tonight, we are delighted to be presenting an original work by a local playwright, in fact, written this year. So probably, I actually didn't ask him, written during quarantine? I don't know. We'll ask him later. So we will be presenting this work, which is a series of monologues. It's a one act, and it is quite a powerful work. And so I am very excited to be bringing it to you tonight. Before we start, I want to make sure to remind you that many of the actors involved in this production and all of our productions consider the Center for Performing Arts in Rhinebeck to be our theatrical home. And at this time, the center is currently trying to meet a matching grant for $25,000. They are well over $11,000 on a Facebook donation drive, and they are, of course, bringing in donations in other locations. But anything you are able to donate to them in this time, either on the link attached to this stream or over on their website at the centerforperformingarts.org, or over on their Facebook page. They have their own Facebook donation drive going. Any money you can put on any of those will be going to an amazing cause to keep a theater running that has been a home for all of us. So please consider making a donation there as you watch us tonight. Now, without further ado, I present to you Brace for Impact.
She had a baby. The woman next to me, she had a baby. You know, I feel like no matter who you are, if you get on an airplane, sit down and realize that the passenger next to you has an infant child, your first thought is going to be, this is going to be a rough flight. It was. But the baby was the least of it. When we realized we were going down, everyone started buckling, doing what they were told. The whole routine, you know, brace. And I look over and I see this woman. And I see the way she's looking down at her child. And in that look, I knew everything there was to know. How am I going to protect you? How am I going to protect myself? How am I going to be able to get us both through this alive? There's the physical part of it, the whole, how am I going to properly brace for impact while holding you safely? How do I do this without one of us breaking our neck? But then there's the emotion, what happens after. If I don't make it, you grow up without a mother. You don't have me. I'm not there. I'm not there for your firsts, your first dance, your first day, your first job. I'm not there. When you take your first step, you're taking one step further away from the possibility of even remembering me. But if you don't make it, I lose the ability to ever be happy again. The second possibility is a lot less complicated than the first. And by that point, a third possibility begins to creep up from behind, that maybe neither of us make it, but maybe it's better that way. And so before that thought can grow into the forefront of her mind, it's when I asked to hold the baby. And that's a sacrifice in and of itself. Is that even worth it? My first thought would have been, if this ends in disaster, I want this to be my disaster. That disaster shouldn't be shared. What if I survive while my child's spine snaps in the arms of a complete and total stranger? And I forever look back on that day and think, would it have been different if I had just held on to him myself? What if I don't survive and my child is carried out of this plane in the arms of a total stranger? And I'm just a memory, Is it selfish that I'm even thinking about that? But it doesn't matter, because she gave him to me. I asked. I said, would you like me to brace your son? Would you like me to hold on to your child for you? What it boils down to is that I asked because I thought about the chances. That the baby would have a better chance of living, and she would be better able to brace herself for her own sake. Not only did I have experience, but I was stronger. But the strength in my arms was nothing compared to the woman who handed over her 10-month-old child to a complete stranger after hearing the words, brace for impact. And what makes it that much more to bear is that she had another child on the plane, only seats behind her with her husband. Hearing the cries of that little girl, trying to understand why everyone is gripping their seats like robots, trying to understand why her daddy is doing it, and why he's holding her completely still in the process. Why nobody is saying anything. Why she can't run over to her mom. Why are those ladies yelling at us? What is going on? It broke me a little bit inside. And it wasn't even my kid. I had been on scary flights before. I fly anywhere between 120 and 150 times a year. Business will do that to you. I've seen failures. It happens. They lose an engine for whatever reason, and they either turn around, they land, it gets taken care of, and before you know it, you're on your way again. Life goes on. This wasn't even the first time I'd been told to brace. I'd seen engines go out. I'd seen bird strikes. I was on a plane in 2003 that caught fire and went down near Nevada. So not even my first time experiencing an emergency landing. I very well may have been the only person on that flight who'd seen something like this before. But I'll tell you what I hadn't seen. Not until that day. Silence. The image of a ball of fire bursting from the back of an engine, followed by the feeling of a decrease in speed or a loss of thrust, was not foreign, but an ascending plane that force you feel in the base of your spine, the sonic hum cutting through the air, the sheer magnitude of the momentum that it takes to push one of those jets into the clouds, disappeared. I'd seen everything, but what I'd never seen was nothing. And that's what made it real. We all just stopped. And I was in an awful hurry this time. Sometimes I even have trouble remembering what for, but I managed to get the last seat on that flight out of New York. I don't know if I'm a hero. I don't know if I want to be. All I know is that that baby didn't make a sound until the plane came to a complete stop. When we made the complete transition from flying to falling to floating. Only then did he begin to cry. And crying is good. It means you're alive.
This isn't happening. What a stupid, stupid phrase. That has got to be the epitome of insubordination. Personal insubordination. The refusal to believe. It's like you're fighting your own intelligence. I guess the only logical scenario where it makes any sense to say that would be in a dream. But I've never actually said that in a dream. Have you? I've never been in the middle of a dream and said, this isn't happening right before waking up. I usually just wake up. They don't even do that in the movies. So they do say this isn't happening in the movies. But the only time then when they say it is when something is indeed happening. If something is happening to make you doubt your own senses, unless you've got issues, you better do something about it quickly. Except I didn't. I couldn't. There really wasn't much to do except hope, pray, wait. Which puts me in yet another position where I have to go against my own senses. I guess that one is different because it involves trust, I guess, that I can't do anything by myself, but that I have to trust someone else, someone I've never met, to try and get me out of this. So we were going down, people around me were pulling out their cell phones and trying to call their loved ones. Some were able to get through, others weren't. Those who had to leave a message truly thought they were leaving their last. My cell phone was up in the bin overhead. So I was frozen for a second. Am I going to go against the captain's orders and try to get my phone? Should I just keep my head down and try to maintain my grace? Your instinct is to move, to do something. But your environment has put you in a position where you just can't, which is quite literally what freezing is. I had options, but I wasn't thinking about either of them. I was thinking about my mom, my sister, my family. They say your life flashes before your eyes. The past wasn't even there. Not then. It was the future. I saw the whole future. The future without me. Not all the things I had done, but all the things I wouldn't be able to do. The weddings, the funerals, the births, and the bedsides alike. Stared forward into a world that had a small hole. A tiny little hole going all the way through it. Hole I was supposed to fill, but wouldn't. For that whole future, for the duration of my depth in that hole, I would then be putting my family, my friends and loved ones in the exact same position that I was in then. I would be freezing them. A future where they all would be able to do is sit there and wonder. What would Eric say? What would he be doing now? Would he be able to say something? To do something? To help? Maybe he'd just make a joke out of it like he always does. I knew him, they said. I knew enough to know what he'd do. And I'd have to agree. But they'd always be wondering what I did. What I was doing in my last moment. Right before we hit. What was he even thinking of? And that's when I realized what I could do. It was a feeble attempt, but I knew at the very least it was something. One less cry into the world. Something to leave behind. I exist. So I broke my brace, reached into my pocket, and I pulled out one of my business cards. And I wrote on the back of the card, I wrote to my family, to my mom and to my sister. I love you. Knowing that was the last thing I would be doing. I tucked it way down into my pocket because I knew that even if this aircraft blew up into 1,000 pieces, at least it would be near me. It would be there. It could be found. And when they recovered my remains, they would know that I was thinking of them as we were going down. But I was able to tell myself. So let me tell you, nothing in this world will freeze you like realizing that you might not be able to. Right now, you exist. Do it now.
You sort of go through a period of reflection afterwards, you know? It's almost like you're taking stock or taking inventory. What do we have? What am I doing? Am I in the right job? Am I on the right path? Am I spending the right amount of time with my family? Have I taken enough risks? Have I taken the right risks? Have I ever really taken a risk? If you died tomorrow, tonight, would you be okay? Would you be content with the last interaction you had with your loved ones being the last interaction? All the advice that you've given, is it good enough to last? Will the things you've created live on? Or will they expire or erode? All things do in the end, but how long will they last before they succumb to the wear of time? Would it have made a difference? Like many of us, after it was all over, I moved to the beach, a little place by the shore with Todd and our boys. I cut my hair, thought about getting one of those tattoos. Didn't, but thought about it. I remember I was reaching for my book. That's when it happened. Right as my hand went under my seat. That's when I heard the bang. The whole lot of them. I heard them pummeling against the wings. I felt the whole plane shudder like it got the chills. And then I smelled the eerie odor, a concoction of burning fuel and scorched flesh. And someone said, the right engine's on fire. And then someone said, the left engine's on fire. And you realize that this isn't something you can have discrepancy over. You realize that both engines are on fire. And after that, I struggled to remember it all clearly, what it looked like, what I was seeing. But for some reason, I remember the sounds. I remember the nauseating silence as the engines both ceased to turn. The air whooshing up against our sides as the plane cut down through the sky. That awful, awful chant from the stewardesses. There were moments when it felt like that's all there was to hear. But there was no screaming. There was praying and crying. A gentleman by the window who thought he'd be so kind as to do a countdown for the people who couldn't see when we were going to hit the water. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. A countdown like that. Some people said it was reassuring, and other people said it was hell. Not the smartest thing in retrospect. But I will fully admit that I'm one of the people who tried to swim. Not just to stay afloat, but to make a break for it. I actually thought I could make it to Manhattan. If I had kept going, I would have died. I'm not really sure what it was that made me turn around. Maybe it was the tips of my fingers starting to go numb. Or maybe it was the back of my mind thinking about my boys. But either way, I turned around and I saw the raft, and I knew it was my only hope before the cold crept its way up my arms and took me whole. I swam right for it. I remember thinking, they're not going to let me in. It's going to be too crowded. I could already see it was full of people. So when I finally got within earshot, I called out, "Is there room for me?" And the guy at the edge of the raft just laughed. He really did. He laughed. He said, "By golly, we'll make room," and reached down and grabbed my hand and pulled me in. I remember the ring, Mark Hood. I remember his big gold class ring. He still wears it too. Completely disheveled, freezing to death, wet and helpless as the day you were born. All while the goddamn press is trying to come after you. We were taken to the New York Marriott, where we all had rooms. They had all been put aside. Nobody asked them to do it, they just did it. When we got there, it was already taken aside. The rooms were ready, no charge, no fuss. Just go on up. And when I got to the room, it wasn't just empty. They had sent someone out to shop for us. There were clothes and a hairbrush, cosmetics, odds and ends. There was a little yellow tube of mascara. Mascara, it's black on top of black. You don't need it. Nobody needs it, but it's nice to have. And apparently, someone else thought so too. And I think that's a little bit of humanity right there. That's human, to go beyond need. It made me feel like a person. It made me feel a little normal again. It was such a relief to be able to say, I'm here, I'm alive. To know that I was going to be taken care of. That's exactly what a woman in the raft said, we're alive. And I said, yeah, we're alive. And so I was able to see my children. And I lost it because I was able to lose it. If you think I'm going to push through a disaster like that just so I can be reserved when I first see my children, you've got another thing coming. And I was able to have a long meeting with my boss. I was able to say the words, I need a job that gives me more purpose and is more fulfilling. I was just a banker, for Christ's sake. I enjoyed my job enough, sure. I loved my husband, my children, more than words could describe, but not enough. I know that now. And it's the kind of realization you can only come to when you've stared death in the face. Just because words aren't enough doesn't mean there's a cap on your capacity to love. I could do more. I could love more. I could be more. So today, I am the Senior Vice President of BOA's Global Women's Programs. I used to advise financial decisions. Now I help women who want to run for positions for countless non-for-profits. I help them get there. I'm helping women. I'm helping people around the world. I've been able to make changes that have made a happier Pam to help people get what they need, but also to go beyond need, because that's what makes us human.
I have been through quite a bit in my career here in New York. Seen a lot. I've endured racist abuse in my industry. I spent a life climbing up a ladder that's truthfully missing a few rungs. I'm a cancer survivor. Disaster, unfortunately, is no stranger in my home. You always figure that this is the kind of thing that you see on the news, not in front of your own eyes, not the kind of thing that you or anyone would want to see. But if I've learned anything about the world is that disaster strikes on a daily basis. statistically speaking, you're not going to be able to avoid it forever. It's going to find you in some way, sooner or later. Calling 911 is the action that breaks the barrier of separation between yourself and the incident at hand. Once you dial that number, you're not just witnessing it. You're part of it. I saw it from my apartment. And I didn't hesitate to break that barrier. I called. And looking back, I think I did a pretty damn good job. The only mistake that I made was calling it a crash. This was not a crash. This was not a crash landing. It was a carefully strategized forced water landing carried out by an immeasurably skilled group of professionals. Anyone who refers to it as a crash, I think, is doing a vast disservice to those people. It's a city that never sleeps. Not because we have insomnia. It's because we need to keep eyes on it at all times. New Yorkers, you think we're all low-gazing, antisocial curmudgeons because why? We're just in a bad mood? No. It's because we're in our dormancy. We're on autopilot. We're not using our energy on outward warmth because we've got to save it for when something goes wrong, so we can handle it in true New York fashion. And in New York, things do indeed go wrong. I've seen people get shot, and I thought, why? I've seen people survive unthinkable accidents, and I thought, how? And on January 15th, 2009, I saw a low-flying airplane over my city, and all I can think was, not again. Because there are some people who are just born to make things okay. People who are meant to fight for themselves, for others, for the work we did yesterday, for the work we could do tomorrow. Back in the middle of it all, in my own personal struggle to survive, there was one particular night when I was in the hospital, in one of the lowest moments of my journey, not feeling well at all. And I could just feel myself just slipping away. I found myself in this coma-like state, going into another place. And this time, it could have been, for all I know, for good. It's so easy to do that. And what better excuse, really? If you've got nothing in your way, it's different. If you're just tapping out when you're in a ring all by yourself, shame on you. But if you're staring death in the face, if your life is crumbling in front of you, or you find yourself sitting there searching for the will to just take another breath, or just to push it back out, to even wrap your mind around the task at hand and the consequence of failure, who can blame you? When it takes everything to hang on, but nothing to let go. Who can honestly say that they would blame you? Not for giving up, but for giving in. But suddenly, as clear as all get out, I heard my name. Robin. Robin. And at first I thought, is that my name? Because I was somewhere different, barely there to hear it. I remember opening my eyes and my sweet nurse, Jenny. She always had a mask on, but I can see her eyes. They were so big. And there it is. There's that reminder. The gentle presence of another to remind you you're not in this alone. To remind you not only of why you can do it, but why you have to do it. I am going to get through this. I was thinking about my mom a lot. And truth be told, that's who I first thought it was. Calling my name. I thought it was my mom. And in a way, I think it was my mom's voice. Not calling me to come to where she is now, but for me to stay right where I am. That there is so much left to do. I don't know. Had Jenny not been there. But boy, you know what? She was.
I was going in the complete opposite direction. I didn't even know what it was. I didn't have to. All I knew is that whoever they were going to need help. So I turned around. I didn't even think about it. Just had to happen. Did I know what I was doing? I grew up on boats. My dad has his own. I've been on it since I was 2, running it since I was 12, certified since I was 14, been a captain since before I could drink. And I've been the youngest and the first woman to do it on New York waterways since ever. So yeah, I think it's safe to say I knew what I was doing. I feel like some people think that being the captain of a ship isn't actually that difficult, that it's all badges and patches and a weird flat hat. It's not. I move people, not boxes. I have a very strict schedule to stick to. Got to make sure everybody and everything works. Watch schedules, appraisals, crew changes, weather changes, equipment changes. I have to make sure this thing is ready and okay to take out on the open river in the first place. Oh yeah, and then I have to actually do it. And this is no straight line. This isn't the subway. There are no tracks or lines in the waters. You have to maneuver around barges, cruise liners, water skiers, jet skiers, kayakers, and God knows what other silly shit someone decides to pull that day. No, I didn't just waltz into this position. No, I didn't have a rich daddy who just bought this job for me. This isn't just the kind of thing you can intern for and then just start. I was a damn deckhand. But I wanted more, so I did more and worked my way up until they offered me the helm. It's a predominantly male-dominated field, which I think is an awful lot of syllables for a bunch of dudes. Do I face a lot of sexism? I mean, not really, not blatant, at least. I get that diet sexism, though. Those comments that could go a number of ways, and you're perfectly aware of the way they're intending it. Those little things people say that are purposely packaged with compliment wrapping paper, but it's clearly just someone trying to pad their shock at seeing such a young woman at the controls when they board their ship. Oh my, look at you go. Yes, Look at me go. I highly recommend it. There really isn't that much else to do until we dock again, except watch me go. Watch me make this thing go. Unless you brought a book, Linda, in which case, have at it. I have a 100-ton master's license. I went to nautical school. There were necessary classes. I took them all. You have to meet captain requirements with the Coast Guard, and I did. Took a while, but nothing worth having is easy to get, and nobody worth being is easy to become. Was I scared? I didn't have time to be scared. The clock is ticking. We constantly drill for situations like this. When I saw the plane in the water, I instantly called my crew and told them to get ready for a man overboard, and I headed over as quickly as possible. I just reacted like I'm trained to do. And keep in mind, it wasn't like I pulled up to the side of the boat, put it in park, going, all right, hop in, everybody. What you may not have considered is that the plane wasn't just sinking, it was drifting downriver very rapidly. So here I am at the side, and I have to constantly be at the controls, trying to play the game with what's left of this plane, making sure I keep up with it, while also making sure there's a safe distance between my guys and the passengers. Too far away and nobody's gonna reach. Too close and I could hit someone. Hell, I could hit the plane. Cost this whole damn thing, even a few precious seconds, it could have been a disaster. But to be responsible is to constantly be ready for disaster when it happens, while doing everything you can to prevent it from happening in the first place. And above all, taking care of it when it does. System, training, protocol, we go. But I'll tell you one thing. There was another group of individuals that day who would train just as diligently as I, worked just as confidently as we, but then something happened to them that there's no training for, that you can't train for. And I may be confident, but I've got the humility to tell you that I don't know if I could have done it. Once you go into the realm of unprecedented disaster, look, I'll try my best. But I guess that's the kind of thing you can only prep for with experience, instinct, and a little bit of that sixth sense, you know? I don't have that. At least not yet. But for that reason, I tip my hat and I do what I can. That's New York, baby.
I had no idea what PTSD really even was. You see it on TV. People would talk about it. I still didn't really understand. But now I have a severe case of it, and now I have to understand. That's all you can do. Try to understand. Try to live with it. The only thing you can do is learn how to live with it, because there isn't a cure. It's changed me. I used to be so laid back. Some people thought I was a stoner, but since that day, I am broken. I am permanent. I am here. I'm in one piece, but I am forever altered due to the events that took place that day. One of my boys, back when he was in middle school, came home and told me about an exercise his principal had them all do. Orientation, mostly on how to prevent bullying, cliques, things like that. He said he had them all take a piece of paper, a nice, fresh, white one, and crumple it up as much as they wanted. Cram it, wad it, press it into as tight of a ball as you can. That was part one, which as a 13-year-old boy, I'm sure he was glad to do. But then the principal told them to uncrumple the paper, get it all flattened out again without ripping it. Make it smooth as possible. Iron out all those wrinkles as best as you can. But no matter what you do, as you very well know, you're never going to get it back to where it was before. It's never going to be a sheet of paper ever again. Not really. Not if you press it or even iron it. Not if you tell it, I'm sorry, or if you say, I didn't mean it. But also, not if you say, you're safe now. That doesn't work either. Not if you tell it it's still alive, or that you're on the ground, that you made it, that you're no longer in any danger, that it's all in the past, that it was 10 years ago now, Doreen, they're waiting for you back at work, that they'd be lucky to have you, that you're a hero in the eyes of America. It doesn't matter what I am. I'm crumpled up, and I fear I always will be. I am physically without the ability to relax. I can't read. I used to love to read, but now I can't relax enough to do it for more than 5 minutes. I did the USA Today crossword puzzle every day. I don't have the patience for that any longer. Off and on and off. These mental storms come in from out of nowhere and destroy your ability to do anything. Sometimes it makes me so damn angry. It is a lot like a storm, actually, when you think about it. A bad one. You have no choice but to stay inside. You can't do anything. You can't go anywhere. You're terrified that you're not safe, that your loved ones aren't. When is it going to end? Are the lights going to go out this time? When I wake up, is it going to be over? Brace for impact means you're crashing. I thought we were dead. 1 minute, we were falling out of the sky. The next, we were in the frigid water of the Hudson. Literally, 1 minute to the next. Accidents do their fair share of damage no matter what. Physically, emotionally, what have you. But the emotional toll this took is so much greater. Why? Because when people are in a car accident, it just happens. No one says to them, in 90 seconds, you're going to be in an accident. But we had that. 90 seconds to think about it before it happened. And that's an awfully long time. Plenty of time for your brain to decide what structural centers are going to be sacrificed in order to get you through this with your instincts intact. Brace, brace, brace. Heads down, stay down. Brace, brace, brace. Heads down, stay down. And they weren't doing it, some of them. Some did immediately, of course, but some just kept trying to look out the window to see what was going on. The back of the plane hit first. It was violent, horrible. And you have to remember, we didn't know we were landing in water. I'm in the back by myself. Donna and Sheila are in the front. Our heads are down, our arms are up, and the only thing we're focused on is verbally trying to get everyone else to do the same. We hit. We stopped. We thought that wasn't so bad. And then the water flooded in. That's when we realized where we were. It was the most shocked I'd ever been in my life. I wasn't expecting that, and how could you? There was nothing said. There was no pushing, no shoving. It was shockingly orderly, except for in the back. Because in the back, a passenger came barreling through, pushed me to the side and flung open the door. And then the water really started coming in. And for the first 3 seconds, I started pushing, yelling, telling people to climb over the seats, get out of the way, get out of the plane. That's what I wanted to do. That's what I started to do. And then it hit me. I might actually live. Within seconds, my emotions went through accepting death to seeing life. The most serious injury that day was mine. When we hit, a pedal beam pierced up through the floor and got me right here in my thigh like a pitchfork. You may notice I don't have my uniform on because it's in shreds. But even if it wasn't, I'm not sure I could bear to do it anyway. You have to understand, I had a different story in the back of that airplane. More violent, sitting right in the spot that first hit. The feeling of breaking into the surface of the world, the ungodly rumble of the plane struggling to stay together, and that beam coming up out of the ground straight for my leg like it was searching for me. The uniform went to pieces, and so did I. They could have easily issued me a replacement, but I just can't. I won't wear it for the news. I wouldn't wear it for Barbara Walters. I wouldn't wear it when the mayor gave us the key to the city, and I still wouldn't wear it. It just doesn't belong on me. Everyone ended up going back to work. Even Sully managed to get a few more flights in, but not me. I think that's about all I've got left. I can't just go back to the way it used to be.
Oh, I don't know if anyone here has ever been to East Bay Park in California, but it's beautiful. It's one of the prettiest in the world. You can free your mind out there in a way unlike you can anywhere else. Something about the way the sun hits the earth, I think. It's like a blanket. The light doesn't just illuminate the earth, it sort of lays on top of it, like snow almost, but not a cold, harsh light. It's no New York, but I can confidently tell you that the California sun has all the warmth and sincerity that I think nature can muster. On January 11th of 2009, my husband and I were hiking in those same hills, and it was a very stressful time in our country. The holidays had just ended. The economy was turbulent, to say the least. We were about to change presidents. There was just a lot of uncertainty. And we got up to the top of the hill, and I don't know quite how to put it. I think everyone knows this feeling. Everyone has thought this, maybe on the beach or on a mountain. You know it, but very few of us know how to put it into words that actually do it justice. And one of those moments when you look around at the world and you see that it's still going on. The sun is coming up. It hasn't come to an end. It's not going to come to an end anytime soon. No matter how badly you or I mess up, no matter who does what, life has its own will to live. The world keeps on turning, and life moves on. And he turned to me and said, in his own calm and casual way, "Looking out there makes you feel like anything is possible, doesn't it?" And I said, well, yes, it does. The next morning at 4 a.m., he left for work, his usual 4-day trip, like always. I was more than used to the stresses of his job by then. And on the afternoon of the 15th, when my husband called me, I was on the other line. I was talking with a friend, and I saw him buzz in on the caller ID. You know what I did? I ignored him. Twice. And I'd be doing a disservice to tell you otherwise, but it's true. I ignored the cell. It's your husband. Any marriage, no matter how perfect or crippled it may be, we all develop that casualness after a while that I'll call him back, or it's nothing important. But when he called the third time, I said, well, I think I need to take this. And he was very calm. He said, I just wanted you to know I'm okay. And at first, I thought he just meant that he was coming home, that he was on the plane back. And I just said, okay, that's good. And he said, no, there's been an incident. Honey, the plane landed up in the Hudson. And I turned on the news, and that's when I saw. After he hung up, I laid down on the bed for a moment. I wasn't crying, not yet. I was just in shock, shaking hard. I called that friend back and told her what had happened, that I was lost, frozen. I didn't know what to do. And she said, go get your girls. And that's what I did. I went out, got Katie and Kelly, and I brought them home, and I still didn't cry. In fact, it took me a long time until I did. It wasn't until days later when I watched a computer-generated simulation of what occurred. When I saw what had happened, how it happened, what my husband went through, how scared he must have been. Some people were on the water, some people were in it, some people were near it, some people drove down to it. Meanwhile, I was on the opposite end of the country. I couldn't get to him. I'm not saying I had it nearly as bad as any of them. I would never make a statement so bold or inconsiderate, but I don't know what those people went through, and I could never pretend to. I'm just saying, I may as well have been died. All I have is an empty room meant for 2 people. But right now there's only one. With the TV, the phone, and the never-ending thought that my husband is in a New York hotel room with roughly the same, and I can't be there to hold him. That is what real torture is. Whoever it is, the deep yearning, the insatiable need to be there, to just be present for the person you love, your spouse, your child, your person. There's just nothing as strong. Nothing. And when you can't do it, when you can't satisfy that need, something tears inside of you. But like I said, I was used to the stresses of his job. I was aware of the circumstances we might have found ourselves in down the line. That's just part of life when your husband is a pilot.
I'm Captain Jeff Skiles, and I'm proud to say that I was one half of the mustaches present in the cockpit on the day of the miracle on the Hudson, or as it's so generously referred to by many Americans. I've had people tell me that, thanks to us, technically, your statistical probability of surviving an aeroplane emergency is automatically increased if your pilot has a mustache. Now, I don't know if I agree with that, but it's a good look. I kept it. He didn't. I think that goes to show who really owns it. When it gets to a certain point, it's almost like dancing. Sully was the captain, I was the first officer. That makes him my boss. When something has to get done, he gives me an order, I make it happen. This is something you all probably have figured out by now. We all have a routine, and we follow it, seamlessly. But what you may not have considered is, what about when that routine is shattered? I was the one flying the airplane. When the birds hit. It all happened so fast. Words like normally, typically, in the past, are all things that don't really do much for me. Because this had never happened before. Not like this. When a significant error, of essentially any sort, occurs, the captain takes control, and the first officer takes out a very specific handbook that we use that has checklists of things to do to resolve the issue at hand. But for this, there was no checklist. Sure, we got lists and procedures for when we lose engines, but both at the same time, at only a minute after takeoff, in an area with a population that dense, with the only foreseeable landing spot being a body of water. It's time to start taking matters into your own hands. And that's what we had to do. You trade altitude for speed. In order to keep the plane from just dropping like a rock, you have to keep it going forward. That requires force. The force has to come from somewhere. The force from the engines was gone. Which means there's only one force left to work with. Gravity. And gravity, that'll do it. But you only have so far to fall. In our case, it was around 3,000 feet. We have to descend at a rate of 1,000 feet a minute to keep the plane moving forward. So, when you do the math, that gives us 3 minutes. 3 minutes to make a plan that would save the lives of the 155 people on the plane and prevent the deaths of any others on the ground below. And then, of course, execute that plan without a hitch. And that's fearful. But fear, I feel, is a result of the unknown. When there's an uncertainty of whether or not things are going to be okay, fear is the unknown. Trust isn't knowing. It's merely a credible assumption. Faith. But it does the job. Trust has the ability to extinguish the unknown. So, in a way, it has the ability to erase fear. And that's why it's a dance. I'm going to put my foot forward, trusting that you're going to put yours back. And together we'll move in that direction that we chose. And that's why I truly believed that I would live. I never had the I'm going to die moment because I trusted myself, the captain, our attendants, the people, and each of our ability to trust the other. Now, the Union, which is a great thing to be in, provided us with really everything we needed. And one of those things is a critical incident response team. People who are trained in the psychological effects that things like this can have on you. and how to prepare you for what's about to hit. And they were right about everything. You probably won't sleep tonight. I didn't. You might not sleep tomorrow night. I didn't. The third night you might sleep an hour or so, and then wake up in shock and relive the entire incident in your mind. I did. You won't be able to turn off your brain. I wasn't. Slowly over time it'll get better. It has, but you'll never be quite the same. I'm not. But that's okay. And it is. Now, I can't speak for Sully. I won't speak for Sully. This is not me speaking for Sully. But I'm not going to call us heroes. Because truth be told, we really aren't. At least I don't think so. We were just two professionals doing our jobs. Doing the dance. We weren't saviors. And that's not what I want to be remembered as. We were people. Humans. With human intelligence and human decision-making abilities. That's what I want to be remembered for. And not because I want to be remembered, but because I want to be a reminder. There's a difference. A reminder of the importance. To show how crucial a human's ability to make the right decision, however unconventional it may be, is. We would have died if we had tried to land anywhere but on the surface of that water. The tower gave us plenty of options, none of which were the right ones. None of which would have saved us. If we'd listened, we would not have made it. It is scary, but trust yourself. Trust your ability to do what makes the most sense. Dance. Because you've only got so far to fall. Eventually, you're gonna hit the ground. What do you do on the way down? That's up to you.
Birds. Whoa. Oh yeah.
Uh-oh.
We got one roll. We got both of them rolling back. Ignition start. I'm starting the APU. My aircraft.
Priority left.
Get the QRH, lost thrust on both engines. Mayday, mayday, mayday. This is Cactus 1549. Hit birds. We've lost thrust on both engines. We're turning back towards LaGuardia.
Okay, you need to return to LaGuardia. Turn left heading 220.
220.
If fuel remaining, engine mode selector, ignition. Ignition.
Ignition.
Thrust levels confirm idle.
Idle.
Airspeed optimum relight, 300 knots. We don't have that.
We don't.
Cactus 1549. If we can get it for you, do you want to try to land runway 13?
We are unable. We may end up in the Hudson.
Emergency electrical power, emergency generator not online.
It's online.
ATC notify Squawk 7700.
Left one's coming back up a little bit.
Distress message transmit. We did.
All right, Cactus 1549. It's going to be left traffic for runway 31.
Unable.
Okay, what do you need to land?
He wants us to come in and land on 3-1. FAC-1 off, then on.
Cactus 1549. Runway 4 is available if you want to make left traffic to runway 4.
I'm not sure we can make any runway. What's over to our right? Anything in New Jersey? Maybe Teterboro?
Okay, yeah. Off to your right side is Teterboro Airport.
No relight after 30 seconds. Engine masters 1 and 2. Confirm off.
You want to try and go
Yes.
to Teterboro?
Yes.
30 seconds.
Pull up. Pull up.
This is the captain. Brace for impact.
My name is Duane Joseph, and I'm 9 years old. I live here in New York with my mom, my dad, and my big sister Sophia. I like dinosaurs a lot. My favorite food is chicken nuggets. My favorite place to go is Six Flags Great Adventure. I can't ride a lot of the rides, but soon I'll be tall enough. I like singing, but not in front of other people. I can bend my pinky finger back until it touches my wrist, like this. I play Little League in my town, and I'm on the team. I'm not the best player, but I'm definitely the fastest. I don't always hit the ball right, but when I do, I almost always make it back home. My dad says I should be a professional baseball player like Mariano Rivera. But I want to be an archaeologist instead, so you can learn more about different creatures that existed before we did. My mom and dad go to the doctor a lot. My sister too. She doesn't go as much anymore because she says she doesn't remember a lot about it. Mom says it's not like the doctor you go to for your checkup. It's like a doctor for your head, to make sure you're thinking all right, and that you know how to handle things when you get sad. Mom says it's okay to be sad, as long as you know what to do, and as long as you have people out there who care about you. I know I'm a kid, but I know that a lot of bad things happen. I think that kind of stuff sort of happens all the time, whether we like it or not. Scary stuff. But Mom says there are good people out there who are ready to help, that there are always going to be helpers, people that look out for each other, and it's part of what makes us all human. That as long as we do our best to help each other, we're going to be okay. You should always be ready if there's a person who needs help, I think, because you never really know if that person will be you.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for this show tonight. This was a fantastic job. I want to take a moment and do a curtain call, starting tonight with Declan, who played Damian Sosa. Declan, please take your bow. There we go. Fantastic job, everybody. For all the rest of our actors, please, you can turn your videos on now. And as I call your name, we're going to do a bow. We'll open up your microphone. Next, we have playing Jim Whitaker, Kevin.
Hey, thanks, everybody. Please donate to the center.
All right. Tonight, playing Eric Stevenson and controller Patrick Harton, we had Brian.
Thank you, everyone.
Playing Pam Siegel, we had Wendy.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for watching. Thank you, Duane. Donate to the center.
Playing Robin Roberts, we had Janelle.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Please donate to the center.
Playing Brittany Canzaro, we had Carly.
Hi, thank you so much for watching. Please donate to the center if you can.
Playing Doreen Welsh, we had Margaret.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for watching, and please donate to the center.
Playing Lori Sullenberger, we had Tamara.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. Thank you, Duane, and please donate to the center.
Tonight, playing Jeff Skiles, we had Mason.
Hey everybody, thank you so much, and be sure to donate.
And tonight, in the role of the captain and also our fearless playwright, Duane.
All passengers, please donate to the Rhinebeck Center for Performing Arts. Thank you.
And as everybody has said, many of our actors, in fact, it sounds like every actor tonight, considers the Center for Performing Arts in Rhinebeck to be a theatrical home. And they are currently in a matching drive for a $25,000 grant. So any amount that you can donate now helps them double. So please, please, if you have the ability, make a donation. There's a link attached to this stream, or you can go to their website and make a donation, or they are running their own Facebook donation on their Facebook page. So any of those locations will help them out immensely. Thank you once again from Living Room Shakespeare for joining us. And thank you again to Duane for an amazing show. Good night, everybody.